Welcome to the Gamigo Cosplay Contest. My name is Lou, and I grew up with Fiesta Online. But today, I no longer invest into the cash shop. No. Instead, I spend my money for some great cosplay. So smash that piggy bank, gather those pennies out of every old jeans you own, and hit the stores. 'Cause, as you know, it's time to get creative. In this video, I'll be showing you how I went from this to this in week 2 of my cosplay project. Obviously, there was a suitcase involved, but more of that later. Because I had run out of EVA foam the previous week, I decided to use my time, a needle, as well as an unused bedsheet, and hopefully get, if not results, then at least some experience. Because to say I'm a beginner at sewing would be exactly correct. I started with the gloves, and obviously they turned into quite the nightmare. You shouldn't go for a level 11 mob if you only just came out of character creation. But I imagine I got some level ups out of that fight. Those came in quite handy for the top. The week before, I'd tried to make a template by copying clothes I already own. I abandoned that attempt and instead made myself a template as if I were crafting an armor. I took 2 types of tape, which I stuck directly onto my body. A weak one for the base and a very sticky one on top to create stability. A template for the necklace helped me get the right shape for the neckline. I then used my thusly created body cast to figure out where to put the seams for the bust. A couple of paper dummies helped me determine which version looked best. After that, all that was left to do was to sew and sew and sew and sew. A lot of time went by. Hand sewing really does take ages. The optics of the end results were extremely satisfying, but of course I couldn't win this boss fight so easily. When I sewed the sides together, it didn't quite fit as intended. Instead of mirroring the template, I'm probably going to need to make a second cast for the right body side. Also, I believe that no matter how good my result is going to get at the end, I'm still going to need quite a lot of double-sided security tape to make that neckline safe. I also spent 10 minutes zipping a zipper back into the zipper. The glue gun is gonna make sure I won't have to do that again. Lucky for me, sometime in the middle of the week, my new materials arrived. Foam galore. A good excuse to put aside the needle and grab an old friend, the contact cement. First, I made the second boot from my old templates. Then, I made the second headpiece, which turned out much prettier than the old one. And thirdly, I finished the shoulder pads. For the bigger one, I simply glued one onto the edge of the other, thus creating a 90-degree angle. The excess material that got created this way on one side, I simply cut off using my template. For the smaller shoulder pads, I used a different method. I beveled the edges with a box cutter, careful to leave a small ridge. These I used to glue the pieces together horizontally, before in a second step, the trench was filled with glue and I pressed the 2 sides together. At last, I cut out some feathers. Loads of feathers, to be exact, and made myself a collection of feather art to help me practice drawing realistic feather details, which didn't help at all. Luckily, in the end I found a cosplayer on YouTube who had found another cosplayer who'd made a very extensive blog on the subject. Finally, drawing feathers for dummies, I'm improving loads. I also made a test run for priming my EVA foam. The usual procedure seems to be to put on 3 layers of some kind of stuff. I used this stuff, because I still had some of that at home from some Halloween horns I'd made out of foam before. However, this primer made the pieces very stiff. It will be good enough for the sturdy pieces, but for the feathers and boots I'm going to have to use something else. With the week over, I packed my entire project into an old suitcase to visit my parents. There I'm planning on doing all the Dremel work that needs to be done. Of course, the stowaway had to stay behind, out of practicality reasons, and anyways, I could drown in my childhood cuddly toy collection. And that's it for this week. Nothing more left to do than to sit here and cut this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, watch the next one. If not, then don't. But whatever it is, do your own cosplay, because that is hell of a lot of fun.